What is good, cannabis community? Welcome back to the Smoke Stream with myself, Bob the Cannabis Cowboy, and your friend, your brother, BG. What is going on today, BG?
Oh man, I'm just over here on BDG sharing it into OAT and into the Cowboy Cousins group. We're getting this chat rolling. Here we are back on the Smoke Stream on another hump day. As we're not gonna talk much football, but the Cowboys OTAs is back on the way again today. So we'll be seeing a little bit more about that. But we're looking for all of our friends that like the greenie, that like the green stuff. Come and tap in with us as we talk about the business of buds today.
Yes, no doubt, man. We've got a special guest popping up. It looks like he just joined the green room right now. We're going to wait a couple seconds, let him get everything together and all that good stuff. But yeah, man, I'm just relaxing, man. You got anything that you're puffing on right now in particular?
Yeah, I'm still on this Blue Dream. I haven't finished it out yet, so about to roll something up here shortly. But yeah, I'm still on this Blue Dream right now, on that 90s era, that Maxwell Ascension type era. Shout out to everybody getting elevated today.
Oh yeah, man, that's some good stuff. I am puffing on my favorite, the Minaj, man, that won the number one on our top five last week, on my top five list at any rate.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's a delicious, man.
Just prototype in the building.
Prototypes coming by to say what's up. But hey, without further ado, we have got our special guests. Sorry, we can't afford more than one. I don't know why I said it like there was more than one, but let's bring them on in. What is good, Riles?
What's up, guys?
And he's back again. How you doing?
Back again. For those that don't remember my brother Bill, that is my brother down there coming to hang out today and answer some questions about the business, man. What's going on today, dude? How you doing, man?
Blue Dream, huh?
Oh yeah,
Christ.
Well, what's wrong with some Blue Dream?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say nobody's gonna complain about that fucking.
They just don't grow it anymore here in Colorado.
I told you, dude.
No, this is one of the brands that I started with, and they actually upgrade. They started out in plastic. Now they're up to glass. They've upped their game, but it's called Legends. So it's a grower up here in Washington. This is Sativa Blue Dream, Santa Cruz Cut, Blueberry, and Super Silver Haze. So
yeah, well, they know how to grow in Washington.
Oh, they don't know how to. They know how to grow in Colorado too, right?
Yeah, they do, but I think the weather's a lot nicer for growing over there in Washington than it is here. We call it a little crunchy Colorado here.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with the fucking 1% relative humidity flying through the air here. It's a challenge. I remember that being one of the biggest challenges I had was just trying to grow one plant outdoors here last year. Not to say that I did that because that would be illegal.
You have $30,000 worth of humidifiers in your rooms,
right?
And a lot of people,
that was the key ingredient in my grow room was that freaking 3.5 gallon humidifier that I have in there now. Up until that point, it was just like I was just feeding tiny humidifiers. It was really, really tough.
Yeah, I might agree with you on the weather there. Is that northern jet stream comes over the evergreen state, as they call it, because your boy BG is always in an evergreen state. But yeah, didn't know that, but that's good to know because I know you're down in Colorado. Plus, you're a Steelers fan also, right?
Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah. No, I just kick it off a little football. We're going to get into the business of buds as we get our little pleasantries out the way.
I'm excited for our quarterback position that we're in right now. I think we're in a really good shape. Skylar Thompson is our backup. Really good.
That quarterback room's swollen, dude.
So good,
man.
I just wanted to ask you how you felt because I know your brother Bob there is a big time Cowboys fan. How it felt when Pickens left your team to your brother's team?
Honestly, I was not upset about it. We actually had a discussion about it. Pickens is a distraction. He's a punk. All he cares about is himself. He wants the ball every single time. But the guy is probably top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. When he gets his shit together, he's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So if you're able to curtail him in his not showing up for practice and then showing up late and then causing a distraction in the locker room, you guys are going to have a hell of a player for 1 year because he's going to want his money next year, and you guys can't afford to buy fucking water in Dallas.
Yeah, we can't even afford to pay Mike, even though we got 30 million in cap money. But I thought that would be a great intro into this because I know you're down in Colorado and you're in the business of buds. And I just wanted to ask you, is there any kind of time frame that you think maybe, the NFL might start to dabble into cannabis? Are they going to have to wait till it goes fully legal? Is that the way that it's looking? Because you're seeing other brands starting to tap into it, especially in the legal states. What's your thoughts on the NFL and the business of buds?
Yeah, they're going to wait for it to be federally legal. What they'll do is what the NBA did. They're just not going to test for it. Like, they understand the business. They understand what cannabis can do for your body. They don't want their players hyped up on painkillers. If cannabis is working for you, great. And we're we're not going to test for it. Doesn't mean that the NFL is going to say, hey, our next sponsor for the Super Bowl is going to be, PharmaCann. I mean, that's probably not going to happen for years down the road. But until it's federally legal, I don't think they're going to touch it.
No, there just has to be so much legitimacy in what they're putting their hands in that they won't even. I mean, I think maybe 20 years ago, if this was popping, they might have been, a little wild child about it and tried to grab onto it. But for the most part, dude, they deal with. They're partners with the military, So like that right then and there is automatically going to say like they're
not a red tape. I agree with Bill. I think they're going to wait till they fully legalized here in the country. It just makes sense. I wanted to grab his thoughts as somebody in the industry, but also to follow up that question as a Steelers fan, once the NFL does get involved in the business of buds, what kind of name of a strain do you think the Steelers would put out? Because every owner is going to have them their strain. Ours in Dallas is going to be Weed'em Boys. So what do you think it might be in Pittsburgh if they had to name a strain out there in black and yellow Steel City?
Steel Curtain OG.
Steel Curtain OG. Okay.
I thought Steel Curtain Kush was what the first thought of when you said that.
Okay. I get shout out to all the Steelers fans out there.
Yeah. So talking about the NFL and cannabis, I don't think they're even going to touch it when it's legal because they get so much money from alcohol and big pharma, and they're just going to say to them, you know what, if you're going to run some ads for cannabis, we're just going to pull.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm not saying it's not going to happen 20 years from now, 10 years, 15, but right now, no, there's just too much money in alcohol and hard-on drugs, pharma in general. I mean, they can't afford the alcohol companies to pull out. They just can't afford it.
So it sounds like what I hear you saying is there's a lot of politicians with their hands in the cigarette industry, the drinking industry, and big pharma of all three, and they don't see the money or the value yet in the cannabis space, which I don't get either.
Look, big pharma, they will probably get their hands in cannabis. I know the federal government actually has the patent for THC is. I don't even know if that's true. I've heard rumors, blah blah blah. But
because they've been studying it down there in Mississippi for a number of years.
I mean, Israel is on the forefront of all that. I think alcohol and alcohol lobbyists are the reason why we're not federally legal right now. Because if you've noticed, alcohol has taken a good 25 to 30% hit
for sure
on sales since cannabis has gone medical and even rec around the country. People don't want to feel like shit when they wake up in the morning anymore. They rather just get high, pop a gummy, smoke a little bit.
I'll give you my testimony, Bill. That's why I quit the bottle after 23 years in the Navy. Once I discovered the flower and I was tired of waking up hungover and all of that, you know what I mean? I got better sleep at night and didn't wake up hungover. So that's great. I think that's great context you add here. And you said 25. How much percentage was it they took a hit? 25, 30%?
25 to 30. It's pretty bad all around. Yeah. I mean, it's hurt us here in Colorado. This used to be the microbrewery state in the country, and they're all failing because people have decided I'm moving away from alcohol. I'm just going to go to cannabis here. Or they were scared at first, tried it and went, oh, wow, this is actually pretty good. And I'll feel good in the morning and it's not going to rip my body to shreds. Because we all know alcohol is probably one of the worst substances you can put in your body long-term.
Yeah, anything that sterilizes anything it touches on the outside of your body is definitely going to screw up anything that's on the inside.
Right.
It's funny too because I think every time big alcohol sees an article that says Gen Z moving towards enjoys smoking more than drinking, they definitely grab themselves and say we got to do something. We got to figure out. I mean, definitely the way like tobacco pivoted too, man. They were like, oh shit, we're losing smokers. We got to get on the vape train. And they jumped hard on that. Look, man, they're going to find ways to do that. That's just the way it goes, man.
So
they're going to get
Bill,
to us.
In the business of buds, I know Bob and I have been talking about this here over the last 6 months or so. It seems like the industry is taking a big hit in the country. What can you tell us as an insider on the business of buds about the cannabis industry taking hits?
Well, I mean, I don't think we have enough time to really discuss this.
Oh, okay.
But all I can pretty much speak for is Colorado. And look, we knew there was going to be a correction in Colorado because everybody was coming to Colorado because all the states around us were illegal.
Not legal, yeah.
Everybody were coming into the state, partying, spending the weekends here, coming in and buying cannabis, going across state lines, either selling it or keeping it for their own use. But now, since everything is opened up around us, around Colorado, in fact, we've seen a plummet. We also saw an issue with COVID where people had funds that they normally would not have to sit home. So there was a huge spike during COVID because people had so much free money, and alcohol and cannabis was actually allowed to stay open during that time. And so just people spent their money on cannabis. So a lot of these MSOs were coming in, buying up 5 or 6 dispensaries, thinking, okay, here we go, the second part of the green rush. And then after COVID stopped and then that free money came in, they were like, oh shit, now what do we do? Now we all have all these bills to pay. Pounds are dropping from, I mean, let me tell you something. At the height of COVID, even to a year after, I was paying anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a pound for quality cannabis. It's to the point now where to get, you can get $600 pounds that are halfway decent now.
And this is in the cannabis space, like as a dispensary in terms of these things.
Yeah. So, and everybody right now is at a rush to the bottom. Their margins are super, super thin. If you're not vertically integrated in Colorado right now, and it might be the same way in other states, but I'm saying for Colorado, if you do not produce your own cannabis, your own concentrates, and control those margins, you will not survive. You used to be able to open up a dispensary and buy from all these growers because there was
buy from growers that are local.
Hundreds of concentrate MIPS. They're all gone. I mean, that's another thing too. We've lost over 60% of our grows in the state in the last 5 years. So
that's huge.
They're all leaving.
Even after that farm bill was passed a couple.
Yeah, I mean, they're all they can't afford it. Like it's going to cost you $500 to grow a pound, and you're selling it for $500 or $600.
Yeah,
how are you going to make that money? You just can't do it. So unless you're growing it, controlling the margins, you just can't really survive on third party and just like keystone it. Like, okay, I'm going to buy, your $10 gram of wax and sell it for $20. You used to be able to make money doing that. You can't now.
So what do you think is going to take it for us to get off of this bottom, for this industry to kind of get back up to the numbers? We're going to have to go back into a recession and get them stimulus checks or what?
Well, honestly, I think this is probably as bad as it's going to get.
Yeah.
I think I start to see a little bit of a rise, and that's due to the fact that there's just a ton of retailers, dispensaries, growers going under, that a lot of people aren't coming into the area to build a grow, build a MIP.
It's not attractive.
You know what? There's just so we're surviving right now on the small amount of people that we have here. Mm-hmm. The MED has to stop when a grow or a MIP goes under, or even a retailer goes under. They need to keep those licenses. They can't give them right back out because it's almost a guaranteed failure. But the MED has their budgets. They have something that they have to. The county, the state have their budgets, and they rely on cannabis taxes. So at this point, they're going, I don't give a shit if you go under. I'm going to get the tax as quickly as I can. Even if you go under and I don't make anything off of you, I'm going to make something in the interim from you. So they're looking at it that way. They don't care about the industry. They care about the tax revenue.
Let me ask you this question, Bill, while you're rolling on that, and with the current state of things going across legalization across this country, Texas has been kind of an eyesore here in the media lately about them really pushing back kind of hard. So what is your take on what's taking Texas so long to get to the table on this? I mean, why are they pushing things backwards instead of trying
to us? Dominus.
Yeah, I don't know. That's your lawmakers there. I mean, they're really conservative people in Texas. They like their alcohol. They might still think about the long hair hippie weed kind of thing. I mean, I really don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. It kind of baffles me why a lot of these states don't see how much money they can make. First of all, not only you're making money off of taxes, the jobs it creates is something that we need in this country right now, and they're so hard up on, oh no, they're hippie pot smokers, I don't want to deal with that kind of thing, we'll just make our money off tobacco and alcohol, and they just rather not even deal with it. Look, if you remember in Florida when I was there, I'm saying 8 years ago, we passed rec there.
Yeah.
Okay, we actually passed it. It got shut down by
that means recreational sales, right?
Yeah, recreational. Mm-hmm. It got shut down. So the voters wanted to do it, but they were so conservative, they decided we're just going to make it either so difficult to actually make as a law, or we're just going to shut it down. And as far as I'm concerned, if the will of the people votes something in, you should not be able to say, no, we're not going to do it, or make it hard to do it. Georgia passed a medical marijuana bill there. The voters voted for medical there. Guess what? You can't grow it there. How are you going to have?
I mean, how did they even pass that one?
Okay, so
it's an appeasement.
Yeah. So what they do is
it's for the media, but yeah, it is. It looks good, but it's not really.
Yeah,
good.
We passed medical marijuana, but then the government officials said, okay, well, that's fine, but we're going to make it so difficult for you to actually get your medicine. We're going to say you can't get it flower, you can't grow it. Obviously, you're not allowed to grow it over state lines and bring it across. So what they're doing now is it's basically a tincture state, which makes zero sense. But I think a lot of these, look, the government today, we don't want to get into politics right now because that's another totally.
Yeah. No, we don't want to do that too much here.
But I
appreciate your insight.
Yeah, but I think Trump actually has somebody in charge right now, or wants to put somebody in charge right now to start the legalization process, if not the Banking Act. So if anything, I think Trump is kind of on our side when it comes to cannabis.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at it, the politics aside, for folks that don't know, he's the one that initially in office passed the farming bill in this country to allow said growers to set up and operate. But like you said, if there's no attraction, if there's no bottom dollar, if you're not getting any margins, it's more than just opening up a dispensary and creating jobs for bud tenders. You're talking about a farm from seed to sale. There's a lot of different components along that pipeline, and there's many jobs there along the way. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on Texas. We got a lot of followers here on Built Different Group that are out in Dallas, and some folks are upset about what's going on up there, and I get it. But that goes back to the West Coast. Like you said, everybody else around Colorado is pretty legal on the West Coast.
Hey, thanks to everybody out there on my YouTube channel, Cultivating with the Cannabis Cowboy. I appreciate y'all coming and hanging out. We got a lot of people out here from Built Different as well. Before we start pushing further into this particular business of buds that we've been getting into, we posed a question last week, and we're going to talk about it really, really fast. In the meantime, we had some guy hit me up and say, I think his name was Lil Reg or Little Regs or something like that. He said he created
Reggie, not Little Reggie.
Little Reggie's man. He said he created he might as well be Lil Kev, if I'm being honest. He said he created an intro for us. Let's see what the question of the day is. The question of the week is.
Your favorite way of smoking bud. Your favorite way of smoking bud. Your favorite way of smoking bud. What's your favorite way of smoking bud?
Oh, that was free. That was free money well spent, I guess, man. Good garbage, man. I appreciate it, man. So
my favorite way is inhaling it.
The inhalation method. Yeah, looking at it never did shit to me. I tried.
So that's bongs, paper. That includes all that, huh?
Well, we're going to talk about specifically flour, but yes, what we have is the usual, the papers, which is what everyone usually, I guess it's the go-to. It's been that way since the very, very beginning.
Hey, you were the first one to turn me on them Ultra Thins, and I became a Patreon supporter of yours, and you mailed that to me in that coffee cup. I thought that was cool.
Ultra Thin does not mean safer.
It certainly doesn't. It just means less paper. And secondarily here, we've got pipes, man. Everybody loves their glass pieces, right? I mean, They're nice. They're pretty. I got an unbreakable one that my wife broke. It's pretty fucking amazing. And then we can move on to what? The bongs. Remember, we've all messed with bongs. The blunts. Everybody fucked with blunts at one point in their life, especially if you were alive in the 90s. You had no choice. Yeah. That was just the way that went. And that turned into the flavored wraps.
Yeah.
Which, again, was the second wave of that blunt bandwagon, which is just as harmful for your body, if I'm being honest. And then we've got the gravity bong, which I know we've got some folks that are probably our age. So let me go ahead and throw up a picture of what you remember. That's what you remember a gravity bong to be like, probably for those 35 and older, right here, something like that. But yeah, these are the new slick $175 gravity bongs.
That shit looks like a Yeti mic, bro.
It does look like a Yeti mic, dude. But anyway, so what is Riles? I'll ask you first, dude. What is your absolute go-to favorite way of smoking bud?
Well, I'm lazy, so I smoke my.
Don't say that. We're already getting accused of being lazy.
Yeah. I'm lazy, and I'm married, and it's cold here, so I'm not stepping outside to smoke flower in the house. So I smoke my solventless rosin vapes. That's how I do it.
Right.
But if I'm able to, there's nothing better than flower and rolling it up.
Yeah. So if you're, I was going to say, what's your method? Rolling it?
Yeah.
Right on. Everybody in the comment section, go ahead and throw what your number one method is. I've seen, let's see, we've got Sterling Sellers threw their number one in there. A couple people have. Throw it in there. We got a few people in here. Let's see exactly what you got. I'm just going to go. I know that right now I can say, probably speaking for BG in this one, because we all come from the same old school. Yeah, papers are really the way that we like to go, man. That's number one. As BG is sitting here rolling one right now, probably are those.
This ain't on a zigzag though. This on a Blazy Susan.
I was gonna say, like, it's either the blue ones I sent everybody or those Pank Blazy Susans, which my brother Bill knows how much I love that name. That's just one of the greatest names.
Yeah, that's a real catchy. Get the marketing department a raise on that one.
They are blowing up. That they're so good at marketing. That company at MJ BizCon this year, they had probably the second largest area in Vegas for and
speaking of that, what do you know about that in terms of the industry? What is the next biggest BizCon, or what is the one to go to if I wanted to start going to BizCons or something like that? Where would I start? Where are they located at?
Well, MJ BizCon is the biggest. That is in Vegas. It's in early December. They have conferences. They have a huge floor for grow supplies, MIP supplies, retail. It takes you 2 days to walk that floor. It's just awesome.
So they bring vendors in, and people are selling like merch and things like that, and they're like doing business,
rolling machines and all the new tech for pressing rosin, stuff like that.
When is that next one coming out, or did it just recently happen?
No, it's the first week of December in Las Vegas.
Cool, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So for folks who don't know in the comments section, what exactly, when you're saying this word MIP, what is it you're trying to say?
Manufactured infused product.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think some folks out there might.
Yeah, your concentrates, your distillates, your BHO, all that fun stuff.
Good stuff. And when he says MED, it's the Marijuana Enforcement Division too. Because in case you folks aren't, if you're living in a state that doesn't even have any of these acronyms, I just wanted to give you the heads up on that.
Yeah, I was like, that got to be recreational. I was on the low hanging fruit, but I hear you with them big acronyms over there. Everybody gets to pick that up here today.
Bill, I got to ask you, because I got a couple of questions that I definitely had written that I wanted to ask you. As someone who's on the other side of that counter, just as I am in food service, it's hard. It's sometimes hard to remember what it's like to be a customer, even though we are, for the most part, customers ourselves as well. Do you think, because it was such a big thing for a couple of years, do you think customers as a whole, do you think they even care about terpenes anymore?
I think in Colorado, I'll just say Colorado, California, Washington, who are legacy states, who know the plant, know the biology of the plant,
right?
Know how terpenes are a huge part of what makes you high. I think they do here. I still think we're such a long way from educating the customer on, look, when I first
Can we
started,
get legalized first? Here, can we just get legalized first?
yeah, like in 2016 when I first started, Bob, all they cared about was your highest THC.
That's
Hey,
one
Bob,
of
the
the-
one that told me about that, he's like, and then I started paying attention. I found some shit at 18 is like 30. I'm like, it's all
And
different.
so what you do is you do your spiel. Well, look, sir or ma'am, THC percentage is a small part of it. It's your terpenes. It's your own endocannabinoid system, because what can get me high doesn't necessarily get you high. And you give them the whole 20-minute spiel. You think you're educating them, and then when you're done, you go, "Oh yeah, that's great, man. So what's your highest THC?" And it's like, dude, okay. So
Stuck on the
I
number.
think here it's gotten a lot better in some of these other states, but like New York, Michigan, Florida, nah. All they care about is the highest THC. But yeah, BG,
Is it
exactly
something-
right. An 18%er will get you high because you smell it, your brain, if you like it, the nose knows.
Yeah.
The terpenes in that plant is obviously what's helping getting you. It's an entourage effect. So what I tell my bud tenders is like, if somebody comes in and they go, damn, do you have, let's just say Bubba Kush, pre-98 Bubba Kush, wish we still grew that, nobody does it anymore. And you say, no, we don't carry that, but let me look up the strains, the crosses in Bubba Kush. Let me look at the terpene profiles in those strains, and I will find you something comparable. And if you educate your bud tenders to even just go a little bit further than that, and you get them the right strain, that they realize that, oh man, I got high, this is great. That goes a long way for customer service. It
goes a long way for moving product too.
Yeah, exactly. But like, they'll come back because they trust you.
For sure.
You're not going to sell them something that is garbage, that is not going to get them high. But yeah, I mean, terpenes is a huge part of.
Is it something that the customer mentions first, or is it something that is initiated conversational wise by the professionals, do you think?
They usually ask what the crosses are. That's the big thing. I mean,
well, that's what I mean. So they're not saying, "Hey, what's the terp profile on this one? Am I getting myrcene in this?" They're saying, "What is it?"
So what they'll do is they'll say, "Yeah, what's the crosses?" Okay, and they'll get on their phone and they'll look at the crosses, and then they'll look at the terpene profile, or that kind of thing. But I mean, as we all know, sativa indica hybrid, that's useless right now. No, I mean, we've been mutating our seeds and our plants for so long that nobody really asks for that. Nobody cares. Oh, give me a sativa. I mean, people who don't know anything, or maybe tourists would say that.
Let me ask you this question then, Bill. So if the Cowboys come out to Denver to play this year, and some Cowboy fans that come out to Denver and want to go to the dispensary for the first time, and they go in and they've got that anxiety, like, I don't know, because I remember that anxiety. I was like, I don't know what to ask for. I don't know what I'm looking for. I just want some fucking weed, but I don't want to know all the limbo. So what kind of advice would you give Cowboy fans coming into Colorado this October for the game, going into a dispensary for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, don't be scared. I mean, I think we probably have some of the most. I mean, look, the people that are left in this industry are educated people who love the plant, who love what they do. All those other people are gone that really didn't care. And just ask your bud tender, hey, I have this issue. Granted, we cannot give you medical advice. So hopefully they're going to say, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I think might help you with, say, your anxiety, or you want to lift weights later, or you want to go to sleep. And then they'll find you a strain that they think will help you.
It's good insight to know.
That was when I was offered a job at my Good Chemistry dispensary because of that. Because every time I was in there, I was answering questions for customers that a couple of new folks didn't know. And I'm talking a long time ago, the very early stages before we were even recreational. Those are things that really go a long way, like you said, Bill. If someone says to you, I want pre-98, and you're like, we don't have it, then that just kills everything right away. If you're able to say, well, listen, man, we've got pyramid or triangle that's probably in the same area, that's definitely a good way to turn that question around. That's just good customer service, which is also falling apart.
Well, that's the only way you're going to keep customers in this industry right now. You can't really advertise. I mean, there used to be more dispensaries than Starbucks here, and that's changed a little bit, I think. But like, the more you can educate your consumer, and they'll be your customer for life. The more you treat them good, and you need to have good product. That goes without saying. But like if you treat the customer well and you really want to help them, they'll remember that and they'll come back. They'll drive the extra, say, 5 miles to see you because they trust you.
So say you had somebody watching the show that's been thinking about getting into the industry as a bud tender starting out. I mean, is there any kind of stuff that you would look as a dispensary owner specifically to hire somebody to your team, or is it just like, all right, you're legal, you know a little bit about it, come on in, we'll hire you? How does that work?
Well, first you need to get your badge. If you don't have your badge, I can't hire you. And that's a pretty simple process. They do a little quick background check, and then within 2 weeks you have your badge.
What is that? Like a background check badge?
Yeah, it's just to make sure that you don't have any. Actually, I think it's like back taxes.
Oh yeah.
Like a violent felony. They change it every year. Like even you could have a felony now and still get your badge. Okay. But like there's certain rules, but you have to have your badge. I'll pull mine out so you can see it.
Yeah, normally if you've done like bank robbery and
where do you go get your badge from?
You have to go to the MED department. There's 2 places, one in Denver and one in Lakewood, and you just apply there and you take your fingerprints and your picture, and then they send it in the mail if you pass. So, and I think
so then once you get your badge, then what? You're now you're a free agent in the game. You're going and you can throw the Cowboys first on your list. I'm going to sign with the Cowboys. Where's Jerry Jones now? How does that work once you get your badge?
Okay. Well, then you go on Indeed, or if you're really smart and you're really eager, you walk into all the shops that you know. Say, hey, I'm new. I'm a hard worker. I want to get in this. I want to get in the industry. I really care about the plant. Like you say the right things to the manager, and then he'll give you a shot. That's what I would say.
Okay, that's great.
I will tell you though, you will work your ass off, and you will be paid nothing.
How does the tips work? Because I know when I leave tips, you see the jars. Is that collectively split up? Is that how that works at the end of the shift?
It depends on the dispensary you're working at. Some have their own jars based on you make your own tips. But then some people, which I used to do, is because I felt like everybody, it's a team. So if I have a bud tender that has to go in the back and do something for me, or like label the drams for me, and they're not able to go on the floor and get those tips, then they're missing out. They're getting screwed. Yeah. So what I used to do is I used to pull all the tips, and based on how many hours you worked, there's
divide it up, and then each person gets a certain amount. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. You said they would work a lot and they wouldn't make that much money. So what incentive? I mean, where is a good place to crack in this industry then? Is it at the bud tender level, or tell me?
Well, yeah, that's where you have to start. I mean, look, I was a golf professional. I ran country clubs, retail golf shops, high-end stuff. I had to work my way up. I started as a bud tender. Of course,
so that's how your career started out, as a bud tender.
I mean,
how many years have you been in it now, Bill?
Bobby, when did I move here? 2016?
Yep.
So 9 years? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it's crazy because there's been only a few changes in terms of where you've gone to, but they've been moderately. The last few have been a little small, but I don't know. I liken it all, and I have since the very beginning, since I worked for one before we were recreational at this state. I've always likened it to being in food service, man. And it might not be the same kind of work, but it's definitely the same pay structure, and it's the same output for input that you're going to get. You're going to bust your ass working fucking 8 hours, crushing it, and you're going to probably maybe make $100 that day if you're lucky. Like it depends on what you're doing, but I think
in Denver it's $18.81.
Yeah,
that's the and then you make your tips, so you can make anywhere from say $20 to $23 an hour. Now, normally that's nice, but in Denver, $23 an hour is not going to go very far. Unfortunately,
it's all relative. For sure.
So let me ask you this question, Bill. I go get my badge. I walk into your dispensary. I say, man, I'm the fucking dude on social media and I want to work here. How do you feel about your employees with your business on social media with all the rules where some states it's not legal and things like that?
Yeah, social media with cannabis is non-existent. Twitter or X is probably the only space that's somewhat safe, but there's not many people on there cannabis. Instagram, you post anything that's cannabis related, that's a meta company. Facebook, they just shut you down. I mean, I know really, really huge companies that worked their way up to say 40, 50,000 followers, and they got shut down, and they have to restart over and over again. So social media is, with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, is useless. Now,
So, but
podcast,
you know, but you get somebody that comes in though that's familiar with social media, that you could leverage their audience or something like that. Is that possible as a dispensary owner to work with somebody that comes in as a bud tender?
Yes. So I used to hire social media influencers. Because I was, some of them had 5,000 followers, some had 100,000 followers, and we would just pay them to come into the shop. We'd give them either free, of course not free, or we give them an ounce or whatever it is for, $2 or whatever it was, and they would post about their experience in the shop, and that's how they got paid. And it helped us out a lot. But with all the regulations right now, since Facebook bought Instagram, they're looking for that. Like if they see somebody smoking a joint on your Instagram page, they're going to shut you down because you're promoting the use of an illegal drug.
Yeah, they shadow banned. As a grower, I've been following mostly for quality control reasons, but I started following a bunch of seed companies long ago, and over the years, I've seen those seed companies be open, and then all of a sudden just disappear for 3 months, and then come back and say, "Listen, we don't know what we're doing wrong. We have no idea what they're saying. It's cool, and then they're saying it's not cool." The only thing that I've been able to use without really getting screwed with has been YouTube. YouTube has been amazing.
Yeah, YouTube's fantastic, and that's where you need to. I told the last company I worked for that YouTube is the new thing because you want to educate your customers. You want to show the inside of your store. You want to show the customer experience, like stuff that gets them excited. They didn't touch YouTube. This new company that I started with is huge on YouTube and is going to be on podcasts. It's going to be a lifestyle.
I think it's starting to relax a little bit more. But Brandon King Sharon is in the building, official sponsor right there for Build Different Group. Got a great question for my experts here.
Can you tell me how THC works? I'm working. Well, THC is activated THC.
Yeah, I think. Are you talking about Delta 8 versus Delta 9?
Yeah. That's
Is that what you mean, B-Red?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the THC that's just a cannabinoid.
Shit is not the same.
No, that's just a cannabinoid. We've singled out like 6 at this point, maybe 7 that I keep seeing. THC.
There are so many that we haven't even found yet.
I bought some Delta 8 in Florida, man, and tried that shit and just threw that shit in the trash. I was like,
yeah.
But you know what? Here's the deal. And that's funny that you say that. I don't even know I don't know why I would bother trying to experience Delta 8, but I have friends that are in Texas that swear by it, and these are people that have been smoking, legit cannabis most of their lives, and just saying to themselves, "Look, they can," up until they were banned, obviously a week ago or whatever. But they swear by it, and I don't know how that could be true, man. If I'm being honest, it's just such a weird thing to me. I don't know, man.
No, you know what that is? That's the placebo effect.
It could be, man, but these are intelligent people too, so that's tough to think of, man. But all right. So hold on, I've got another one. So since you said customers were coming in for THC, what percentage of those folks are still coming in and saying, "Hey, what has the highest THC to you?" Or is that, you said that might have tapered off a little bit?
That's tapered off a lot, to be honest with you. So like I said,
good.
We've become very educated here in Colorado. We've tried very hard to educate our consumers. We have terpene posters, hopefully, in your dispensary. You talk about, educational posters, pamphlets. You go on YouTube and you learn about the plant. Even those people who are growing will tell you, look, don't be a noob and say, what's your highest THC? Because that's not what they want to hear, and it's not true.
Right.
Check out this 30 banger I got, dog.
Okay, first of all, I think I used to work for a really, really smart grower. The guy was a mad scientist. He said the highest you will ever get the plant to get to is 32%.
And that's actually fucking unicorn shit.
Yes,
that is through some serious breeding to get to that number, because it's a
you,
monster mutation.
I had a one time, I can't remember the name of the damn. It was out of Planet 13 too. I think it was started with a J. Damn it, I can't remember. It was 32%. That shit. Yeah. When I rolled it up, bro, like we do, and I started to crunch, this shit just went to glitter as you crushed it. You know what I mean?
Well, we had a couple of testing companies here in Colorado that during COVID and a couple of years after were inflating their testing to get to the 30 to 31, 32, and they got shut down because people were buying it and then getting it or the government would buy it and retest it at a facility that they knew were legit, and finding that it was, if that, half of that. So they got shut down. So they're learning that you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's insane, man. I don't know, man. I think once we're humans, and then once you start adding money, profit, margins, all these things, people are going to try and find a way to squirrel that. It's unfortunate, but I'll tell you what. I know that we didn't do on the level of what California did in terms of shooting themselves in the foot. We weren't crushing it with backdoor sales like they were, and all these other things that got so many of their dispensaries to shut down. So I'm pretty happy with the model that Colorado's put down. If I'm being honest, man, they've
but we're still in the dark ages when it comes to compliance. It's easier to go into a liquor store and they don't give people shit for running a liquor store. We have so many hoops we have to go through. There's 280E, which is the tax where you can't write off your expenses. That is crushing dispensaries. So that's an extra 30% profit that we could be making that we're not because of the taxing, which makes zero sense. It's federally illegal, but yet you'll take the tax dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, when 280E is gone from this industry in Colorado, we're going to be okay. So that's the number one thing they need to stop. And if you guys don't know what 280E is, go ahead and Google it and read about it. It's a tax law that we cannot write off our, labor taxes, any expenses we have on our dispensary, we cannot write off.
That was Jay Mackin.
I was just gonna say, man,
Jay Mackin in New York, baby.
I clicked on Be Red and I was like, is that fucking Jay Mackin? That dude, it's good to see you, dude. I haven't talked to you in
Mackin in
years,
the comments in a minute. What up, Jay Mackin, the Big Apple, baby? We see you out there. Yeah, he had a great question. He says, need to come and educate all these new dispensaries in New York. I hear New York business is booming.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Ever since they got legal, I haven't heard from Jay Mackin. Jay Mackin, me and Jay Mackin were tight on some growing shit for a long time, man. And then it just got legal, and I think he just was like enjoying what's going on. You just smoke weed anywhere in fucking New York now.
Oh yeah, you could walk down the street there and
you can smoke it in public there now. Unlike some states where they recommend you smoke at home, right? You can smoke it anywhere you smoke a cigarette now. Currently in New York.
Yeah. New York is blowing up. New York, New Jersey's the new one.
That's interesting, B-Red, because you know what? I've seen a lot of different methods for curing, which is, I believe, what you were talking about, or drying. I don't know if freeze drying is a drying part of the process. I guess maybe you could have done all that curing and drying at the same time. I smoked when I did when I tested High Times indica. I smoked a couple buds that were freeze dried, and I did not like the texture. I didn't like how it burned. It was just fucking weird, man.
Bobby, here's what happens when you freeze. And we freeze in our industry, but it's fresh. It's called fresh frozen flour, and it's for concentrates. It's for solventless pressing. So if you do not know how to handle a fresh frozen plant, those trichomes are frozen and will fall off.
Ooh.
So you're not going to get high.
Learn something new every day. I never even knew they got fucking frozen.
Yeah,
flour.
You sell fresh frozen to companies to create, rosin for you, resins, distillate, all that fun stuff.
You're going to want to freeze it in order to keep them on the plant, unless you could separate them, but then who the hell knows where you're getting those from? And that's another, it's a weird issue, but yeah, that's I think it's also just it's a terrifying thing to do. Just like I've been really seeing a lot of people submerge their crops too, washing them, which is a very, very weird thing to do. But, some reputable people are doing it, and I don't know. I'm old school, man.
Yeah, the longer the cure, the better. But unfortunately, in our industry, after harvest, people don't want to sit around and wait. That needs to go straight to the dispensary so they can make their money. So, yeah.
They're like, Bob the Cannabis Cowboy cures his for 6 months. Well, you know what? We don't have those kind of times. Yeah, we got margins.
So we'll go top shelf here with you, Bill. I want to ask you this question. So you got somebody that's got a big bag of money looking to invest in getting into the industry and opening up their dispensary. Where would somebody with a bunch of money who's looking to put it into this plant industry go to first? What's your recommendation?
I would go to New York. I would go to Michigan. Yeah, Florida. Unfortunately, Florida is a monopoly, where they gave most of the licenses to about maybe 5 or 6 big, huge companies. You had to be actually a farmer in order to be able to grow there, and then the farmers aligned with dispensaries. So, like, there's 4 massive companies in Florida that own 90% of all the dispensaries.
Oh, monopoly.
Yeah, it's
Do you
a
know?
monopoly.
Do you know the companies by name?
Uh,
I just thought I'd ask. I'm curious.
no, I think.
But then I'm gonna go look who owned them damn companies.
Anthony, you caught me off guard. I just realized who the hell you were, dude. It's so good to see you, dude.
It sounds like he's down there in Colorado. He said that's what he's talking about. One of the biggest problems with Colorado is the fact
Oh, he was
guys
here.
quit.
He had to go to. He had to leave. He went to Florida. He went to Tampa. So he knows.
Yeah, the
I'm so sorry
Colorado
you had to
Crunch.
do that.
True, it's true.
Colorado Crunch. And it's really funny because I do specifically strain spotlights for Good Chemistry, and a few times I've said that, and a few times I've heard people who go to Good Chem, and I'm like, well, can you name a dispensary that doesn't have sometimes dry bud? And they're like, yeah, I guess you're right. Like we don't. I remember growing up in Miami, Bill. We actually had to try and find ways to fucking dry it out. Like there was. It was like there was
so wet,
no way
you could not roll.
It was
you had
stupid.
to hit that.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, man. It was definitely crazy how it was, and that has everything to do with environment, man. Again, it's the overall relative humidity. They could have all the good humidity they want in that grow room, dude. When you jar it, it just becomes sucker to whatever. Every time you open up whatever room you're in, that relative humidity is going to go inside that jar and kind of dry it all out. But absolutely. I don't know, man. It's a I now that we're talking about this part, I still have a problem with why they haven't upped my ability to grow more flowering plants. I still can only legally grow 3 flowering plants since fucking 2007.
Do you know they had a chance
to become a plug, man? They follow you on social media. That's why.
The last vote that they had, they were trying to up the actual buying power to 2 ounces per rec. Because it's legal to actually carry on you 2 ounces,
right? And that's
because medical card, medically. I can get 3 at a visit.
But you cannot buy rec more than 1 ounce.
Yeah, no.
So they said, okay, well, let's allow them to buy 2 ounces now, since it's legal to actually carry 2 ounces, and they shot it down. There was actually a law too that they wanted to stop the concentrates. Yep, True Leaf is definitely one of the big ones. They wanted to cap the concentrate THC percentage at 20%.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. King Sharon got some more context down there. I think he in one of them dispensaries, like we was out in Bakersfield, dog. Some might be green lit, some might not be green lit. I don't know what they got going on in OKC though.
I tell you what Oklahoma did, and they really screwed things up there. Instead of capping licenses there, they said, you got the money, we're going to give you a license.
It's kind of a green rush on OKC, hasn't it been?
But you can only do so many things.
There was 1,000 grows, 1,000 storefronts, and guess what? There's probably half of that left now. Everybody went under because there's just too much competition. It's crazy.
Yeah, Sarah, it is. I can grow up to medically, I can grow 12 plants, but no matter what, there can never be more than 3 flowering at the same time. So what the hell am I going to do? I'm going to grow only 3 plants. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, unless I'm talking about growing mothers, perpetual moms, or if I'm going to clone, that makes a little bit of sense. I get a wiggle room. But the fact that I can only grow 3 flowering at a time is ridiculous. I think your law where you are is 24, and you can bud all 24 at the same time where you are in Michigan.
Yeah, we had huge EPCs here too, Bobby, at one time. Remember? If you had, chronic illnesses like cancer, they allowed you to buy like up to like 12 ounces a day.
Yeah, I mean, medically, I was buying 2 ounces and like, I can't even smoke this. I mean,
yeah. Well, we all knew that was happening.
But on the recreational side, for somebody, they could go into one. What's stopping one person from going to one dispensary, buying an ounce, and going to one down the street, going in and buying an ounce, and going down the street? But I mean, there's nothing. But you're just controlling it at that counter at that particular point of sale.
Right. There's really nothing they can do because we have a seed to sale system here in Colorado called Metric. And on the medical side, you had to actually put into this system how much the medical person bought because it was a lot, and they just wanted to stop people from doing what you were saying, going and buying 3 ounces here, 3 ounces there, and then buying 3 ounces down the block, and then going across state lines. And obviously, you're selling it because you're not smoking all of that. But on the rec side, we don't have to do that. So unless your company, like our company had a software system called Dutchie that was connected to all of our other dispensaries. And what you're able to do is when you check somebody in, you'll be able to see if they purchased that day. But if you buy from our dispensary and then you go down the block and they have another POS system, there's no way to track it. So you still can do that.
Yeah, I don't even think medically they were tracking. I don't think that was even trackable medically. It's not like someone would pull up, oh, you were just over at this dispensary and bought over there.
No, you could. Metric, there was ways to do that.
Really?
But yeah, it's gonna come, bro. Because I'll tell you this: once it legalizes in this country, like right now, I have a card. Shout out to all my card carrying members, veterans. If you ain't got it, it's a great alternative instead of opioids. Last time I checked, ain't nobody dying from no plant. But anyway, tax free at the counter, baby, with a medical card. Woo, I'm saving $58 a pop.
Yeah, that's what we do here. I mean, we had shit.
And they're gonna track like, all right, who buying all these ounces up? They're gonna be over there restocking because now everybody can sell weed on Amazon once it's legal, right?
We had a lot of medical patients here in Colorado, and then everybody started going, you know what? We're not making any money off medical. We're just going to close that side because there with HIPAA violations, you had to make it so where one part of the dispensary was rec, the other part was medical, and that started to die. So what I do is I just say, okay, if you're a medical patient, you have your medical card, you get 20% off. I'll just pay for your taxes.
And that's across the board. Pretty much every dispensary that once had medical in them will offer that because they don't want to lose a group of people that they were once serving for many years. And also, it's really just semantics and inventory. The headache of having to split two sides was really what I've heard most complaints with anyone who's in the professional part of cannabis. Having two inventories was a freaking nightmare.
Well, they changed that too. So recently they passed within the last year where in Metric, you could have a plant and you could say it's medical and you can grow it. And just as long as you don't send it, you can decide right then and there, you know what? I have too much medical. I'm going to make it rec. And you just ship it to rec in your system and you can ship it out. Before, if you grow it as a medical plant and you have 40 pounds and you can't move it, you burn it. It's over with.
Yeah.
Now you're able to switch it over to rec to get rid of it. You weren't able to do that before.
Shout out to my guy Sam Harris, baby, the admin in the chat. He says Texas has got to get rid of Greg Abbott. He gone full madman trying to ban THC altogether. Yeah, we talked about that in the beginning part of the show. That those folks in Texas got their hands in some other cookie jars, and they're not willing to take them out of the cookie jar because it tastes so good.
It's really it's the deep, and again, my aim is to not offend anybody with this statement, but the religious part of the thought process of the people that are in power there is really the part that's holding everything back. And BG, you were talking about the stigma and hippies and all that shit. That's all tied together in that, man. Not progressing your thought process with reality that we have right now, knowing that everyone who smokes weed is not a fucking hippie. It doesn't. Everyone should know that. But the problem is Texas. We've got a lot of people that need to.
They ain't turned on the notifications yet.
Yeah, and it's
maybe not.
It's not really hippies anymore. It's basically to keep the people of color down because they associate.
There's always going to be a word.
They associate cannabis with. In the early days, obviously, we know what prohibition happened. It was because they didn't. The Mexican
it was because of Harry Anslinger. He was out there putting out all that shit in the media.
Were coming over and actually doing the jobs that Americans didn't want to do, and they were smoking a little bit of weed, and they didn't like that. So that's why we have prohibition because they didn't want Mexicans getting high and raping their white women. So
that's why it's called marijuana.
That was Harry Anslinger. You can Google him. Harry Anslinger. That guy worked for the government. He's the one that demonized the plant and told them that it was bad for the blackies because they sticking all the whiteys or something to that effect. But no color lines here. But you can look him up. Harry Anslinger. He's the dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's some nutshell right there, basically. I mean, you might not have you nailed the sentiment of the whole thing.
I'm just
right
saying.
there.
I mean, that dude had some crazy headlines, and then all of the the folks that did the cartoons in the news back in the day.
Reefer Madness.
We had rolling screens. I mean, they painted this really bad picture of that one demographic was demonizing another demographic because of this plant,
right?
Which was not even the case.
No, you're gonna jump out of a window because you're stoned. Like, come on. Yeah.
Helen Hunt, man.
I mean, thing you're gonna do is go to Uber Eats. You're gonna Uber Eat something or something like that. You know, you're gonna have some cookies, you know, from the other cookie jar everybody got their hands in that you're gonna get you some milk and cookies
I
or
mean,
something.
it's just
Once
I
you
do
get
find
once
it
you get these
strange.
rich lobbyists, though, say they deschedule cannabis, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi are going to go, okay, let's do it, because you know what? Walmart, Bayer, they're going to come in there and they're going to give them a lot of money, and they're going to say, okay, well, we're cool now. You're giving me $3 million. We'll make it legal now. Here.
That part, Anthony, that part right there, baby.
Anthony, I'll give you $1 for every single time you heard me use that word in any of my 75 plus videos on my channel.
Yeah, don't
Just,
say dope. You don't. Dope.
No,
I've
no.
never said in 20 years. It's cannabis.
Yeah, it's cannabis.
Marijuana is
For
definitely.
me, it's medical cannabis, baby. I'm a patient, baby. You know what I mean? I treat it
But-
as medication.
Yeah.
Are the people who regulate it medically, or the enforcement division is a marijuana enforcement division, which is, you know,
Absolutely.
there's just a little bit of, you got to understand, man, you're going to be able to see some skin shed, but it's not going to be all the skin.
Yeah.
They're going to leave some of that old shit on there, man. So yeah, I mean, listen, Bill, thanks for coming and hanging out, dude. I don't think I had any more questions. I think the last one I had, I fucking asked. Oh yeah, we did want to ask one thing, because we were talking about having this as a topic of of one of the shows. But why do you think cannabis delivery hasn't taken off in Denver, or really for the most part in most places that has cannabis?
Okay, that's another question we can talk for hours about. When I was at Diego,
maybe next time he's on, we can break that down further.
When I was at Diego Pellicer, Bobby, I don't know if you remember this. They passed a law where you can do delivery.
Yeah.
So we were one of the first companies to actually have delivery. Diego Pellicer, I think Strawberry Fields was one of the other ones. Colorado Harvest was another one. But the only way you can get a license for delivery was you had to be social equity. So it was tied into social equity. Okay. So a lot of people that were in charge of these delivery businesses would come in and pitch what they could do for us. And what we realized is that they didn't know what they were doing. They were not being very compliant. And the pushback would be, if they did something wrong on their end, even though they're individual contractors, we would be the one who got into trouble. Right? So if they sold to a kid instead of checking their ID,
right?
Even though there were a license not with our dispensary, they had their own license, we would still get in trouble. So that was one. Number two, the only people who really want delivery here in Colorado are the people who are really unable to get into their car, are really sick, and don't want to do it. Now, we don't have that issue here. The dispensary experience is huge here in Colorado. So why pay the extra? Look, it's probably close to double when it comes to the taxes, delivery fee, because then the people who are actually driving it has to have insurance, and then it was so expensive that it didn't take off. Now, places like California, who actually started delivery, the reason why they did so well is they didn't have storefronts. The only way you could get it was delivery.
Yeah, and that's sort of like that little ghost note that no one's going to talk about. You know, like, it did so well, but yeah, if there's no brick and mortar, then there's really no other way to get their business. So that kind of would skew numbers. But
right,
I honestly, I feel, and I think when I was talking to BG, I said it was simply even though I know it's available, the dispensary experience is still what I want, and it's still, even though I've gone to the same place for 16 years. I still want to go there and look at it. I know what they're going to give me. I can send somebody to get it, but it's still the experience, man. I still like talking to people about cannabis, man. And I think that's one of those things that you can't take.
So expensive. So just add another, saying you're buying a quarter for like $50 plus tax. That's like $60. That's great. Add on everything else to that. I got to pay the guy who's delivering it. You got to tip the guy who's delivering it to you. You talk about an $80 quarter. Who is going to?
It's just like Uber Eats. You got Uber.
Well, yeah, I was going to say just like
Uber
DoorDash
Weed.
too. That's why you're going to add 60% to your tab just by.
Then you got to sign up and get Uber Weed One, so you can save discounts on every purchase.
That's why it didn't really pick up here in Colorado.
I think if DoorDash hadn't become such a monster thing during COVID, we might have had a chance to have delivery be a thing. But since we were so saturated with that experience, I just think that nobody wanted it. And again, it's expensive too. Like,
here's what would have happened if the governor would have said, "Guess what, guys? There's no storefronts. You can't go buy your liquor. You can't go there, but you can deliver it." It would have been huge. But we kept it open, so people were if everything was closed, supermarkets, all these places were closed. The only places you could go are liquor stores and dispensaries for that good 8-9 months. So they were actually getting out of their house because they didn't want to deal with being in the house anymore.
You know what? That sounds like a future episode or a listicle, Bob. There is what are the top 5 things that make a great dispensary experience?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is it customer service? Is it atmosphere? Is like, do dispensaries need to put them green walls up and shit, kind of like what they do at Planet 13, where you can take photos by it and do the social media thing with it to promote it or something
like that? Well, I will tell you, the new company that I'm working for, that the dispensary is going to be opening up in mid-July, it's going to be an experience. It's going to be awesome.
Talk about that. We're over. We're off on Instagram because we're over an hour. But if you want to go ahead and introduce any of that information, man, feel free. I just didn't want to say anything because I know it was still early.
No, well, I mean, I'll come back and talk about it. But the company's called All Pro Cannabis. It's owned by Bo Scaife, who went to University of Texas, an All Pro University of Texas, played for the Tennessee Titans for a long time.
I thought that name sounds familiar. Okay.
Yeah, it's his company. He has a grow down south, and he wants to get into the dispensary game, and I've known him for a long time, and he goes, "Bill, come work for me, let's do this." And we are hyped on what we're going to do in this dispensary.
All Pro Cannabis, you said that's opening up in July. Any hard date on that yet?
Yeah, it's good. I don't have a date yet, or I can give you a date. I'll be lying, but maybe next month, maybe mid-June, I'll come back on here and we'll talk more about it, because I want to talk about the experience that's going to be different from the experiences that you have at a normal dispensary here in Colorado.
I'd love to be there to talk about the experience, to be able to share the experience with everybody.
So we will have an area for podcasts. So you guys can come in and you can do the podcast here. We're going to have a grand opening party. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Somebody that gets it. I can't believe it.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Somebody that gets it, you know what I mean? That's why I was asking you about social media with bud tenders and things like that, because I could see that becoming a thing. Like, people.
I mean, look, the last
audiences and online and being a bud tender and promote, but I know there's the cost you can't show and the pricing, and not everybody's in legal, so there's a lot of red tape still there. But man, look, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah, I know you would think so, but it's hard now because they're not getting their tax dollars. So what they'll do is they'll come in and say, "Guess what? That's against the rules. Here's your fine, $50K." And they'll do it now. So we need to be compliant on everything we do.
Well, that's dope, man. Congratulations on the All Pro Cannabis deal, man. That's awesome to be able to share here first time,
for real.
Especially with our audiences. So if you know folks that's in Colorado, stay tuned here. Especially I know my guy Bob, the YouTube channel over here, and then on Build Different Group. Make sure y'all stay turned on the notifications every Wednesday. The Smoke Stream, you will find those updates here. It's been great to be having you back on here, Bill.
Thanks,
especially
man.
talking about them Steelers, man.
I'd rather talk about the Cowboys right now than the Steelers.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to be a tough year. Look, I say that to everybody. Like, what's going on with the Steelers? And I'm like, look, I had 20 years of Ben Roethlisberger. I'm happy. Had 2 Super Bowls.
Real.
Not many people can do that unless you're a Patriot fan, and then you're very lucky.
Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Like that's I remember fantasy football. That lineup was sick.
Oh yeah, the Killer Bees. We had a lot of fun. So I mean, it sucks, but I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah.
Fucking A, man. All right, well, shit, it was good. It was good hanging out with everybody. BG, man, anything you got to say before we scoot on out of here, dude?
Nah, man, make sure you turn on notifications, baby. On Hump Day, it's the Smoke Stream. Y'all heard it here first. All Pro Cannabis, mid-July with my guy Bill.
Yeah, man. We'll see y'all soon, bro.
I bet. Peace.